Good morning everyone, welcome to another repair video. This is a PlayStation 5, this is the Blu-ray edition with the physical drive. This is upside down. I bought this item faulty on eBay. It was around 165 UK pounds. Seller described this as having a faulty HDMI output and a damaged rear USB port as well. I'll have a look at that in a minute, but firstly I just want to try and switch this on and see what happens. So now I have this connected via the HDMI and I have the power cable attached, and I'm just going to switch this on. We have a white light, which is a good sign. That means the console has booted up, but there is no video signal. I did try to wiggle the HDMI port a little bit, but it is slightly wobbly, but no signal there. Okay, so as always I'll break this video into three parts. Firstly, I'll take the console apart down to the motherboard. After that I'll remove the old HDMI port and solder in a new one. I'll also have to do the same with the USB port in the back. Once I've replaced those parts, I'm going to reassemble the console and then connect it up again to a 4K TV just to confirm it's working. I'll also check whether the Blu-ray drive is working properly, and I think I'll leave it there. So yeah, with that let's get started with this disassembly. Just before we start, I'll show you some of the tools I'll be using. Some flat nose mini pliers, another set of small tweezers, a couple of crosshead screwdrivers. I also have a T8 screwdriver. Later I'll also be using soldering and desoldering equipment. Okay, so we're back again. As you might have seen, I've just partially reassembled this. I've put roughly probably less than half the screws back in. I want to do all the main hardware checks before I'm satisfied. I also still need to remove some dust from the console. I've got this plugged into my small LCD TV here via the HDMI, and I have the power cable plugged in the back of this, and see what happens. So we have PlayStation logo, that looks very promising. We've got the intro screen, so everything looks perfectly okay at the moment. I will have to check with the 4K monitor later. I also want to check that the USB port that I replaced is working properly. So I have a PlayStation 5 controller here and a USB-C cable. Sorry, I do apologise for the poor lighting, but the afternoon sun is coming through that window. So I've gone through some of the basic checks. The Wi-Fi is working okay. I updated the console and I was able to log in. I'm just checking the Blu-ray drive is working properly. I've just restarted this after the update. I just want to check the I think the Blu-ray drive is working. I've already downloaded the update file for this game. I've been charging my phone from the USB port that I replaced, so I do know that the USB port is at least partially working. When I connect to my 4K monitor upstairs later, I'll connect my steering wheel and pedals to the same USB port just to confirm 100% the USB port is fully working. Yeah, you can see that started up. One thing I wanted to mention before finishing the video is about the liquid metal. So you may have noticed on the APU chip, most of the original liquid metal had shifted to one side, which is at the bottom of the console. When seeing this, the console in the past has been placed in the upright or vertical position. Because liquid metal is not very viscous like regular thermal paste, it does end up sinking towards the bottom. That does happen if you have it in the vertical position. So I wanted to explain exactly why I have done that, and it's basically through personal experience. So last year I did a very similar repair like this one. It also had a broken HDMI port, which I replaced, the same as this one, and I noticed the same thing where the liquid metal had sunk to one side of the APU. At that time I didn't know about this issue, and when I put it back together, I remember a couple of days later it kept overheating and shutting down. I replaced the liquid metal. Since then I've always had that console in the horizontal position. I've played that for at least 100 hours and I've not had any problems. I'm pretty much finished. I might show you some shots where I've reassembled the console again and cleaned it up. But I think I'm going to finish the video there. Hope you found this video useful, and as usual I will see you in the next one.